I'm going to try to look at this story through the eyes of Moses' mom, her viewpoint. Imagine the anxiety of giving birth to a son only to discover that Pharaoh has decreed that all boys must die. Wow. The heartache and the fear of the future of her newborn son moved her to love in action. Think about what must have gone through her mind. How would you have handled the situation? You see, she determined that despite the Pharaoh's decree, she was going to see her son live and thrive. Did I mention she was a slave? She had no freedom. How was she going to pull this off? No freedom, no liberty, no ability to change her circumstances. There was no better life waiting for her. No job promotion looming. No government programs out there that would empower her to get ahead one day. She had to work in the brickyards or labor in the field, but God was on her side because of his favor and her blessing. She won. As any mother, with God on one side, for 3 months she kept him hidden, possibly moving every so many days, trying to find a new hiding place. Imagine anything more difficult than trying to hide a healthy, growing baby boy and hide him for 3 months. And still be a slave, which means she had masters who were watching her every move. The child grew larger day by day, was full of life. Finding a more secure place to stash him would become more difficult in the days to come. I can see her losing sleep and rest as she was preparing this ark to save him his life. She knew she had to make it strong to protect her son from the Nile. To this day, the Nile is not a safe place. Strong currents, crocodiles, the Pharaoh's soldiers nearby. Think of how she would send Miriam, her daughter, to carefully scout out the patterns and the lifestyle of the princess, where she is scouting out, where does the princess bathe? Where does she do her laundry? Where does she hang out? Where does she go? She's thinking in this and conniving and planning and strategically looking at how do I get my son into this woman's hands. I can imagine her singing, crying to her small son each night as she stayed up to prepare a way, because she knew God had a plan that she was putting into action. So what happened? God moved. I'm sure she prayed and asked for intervention, but the favor, the timing, it all had to be right. The key element would be Pharaoh's daughter. Would she even want the child? You see, she had a woman's heart, because she looked into the baby, into that baby's eyes as God moved, and she forgot that she was Pharaoh's daughter for just a second, and her heart engaged with the possibilities of raising a child. I remember being a foster parent. Now, we had gone through, we were now children 4 and 5 of the eight that we had. And I remember the first time I saw my little babies. They were 3 and 4. They were walking up the steps to our apartment building. My eldest saying to the little one, "Come on, Mary, let's meet our new mommy." You know? I was the dad. I was the doorkeeper. They blew right by me, ran up the steps to see the new mom. I'm like, okay, I'm chopped liver. They wanted a mom. Dad had no clue what that was. You know? A few weeks later, we were in Kmart. And Mom had Sarah shopping for a dress or something like that, and I was sent over to get diapers, you know, or whatever. I can't even remember what it was. I was shopping stuff. You know, I had my little daddy-do list, you know, and my little peanut is in a little shopping cart, and I'm pushing it along. And all of a sudden, 2 little hands grab my t-shirt. And I look down, and these huge baby blue eyes are staring at me. And she says one word, mine. You could have taken my heart, and it was slammed with a 25-pound sledgehammer at that very moment. It was over. This kid was going to be mine. Imagine for a second Pharaoh's daughter, king of the universe, line of succession, all power, power of life and death, sees that little thing floating and sends over her maiden, because she wasn't going there because of the crocodiles. Maiden brings this little ark of a basket over, pulls it open, and she looks into the eyes of this little baby. And I can just imagine what happened. That little baby boy reached up and grabbed her jewelry and said, "Mine." How do you turn a child away? It possesses your soul. You see, God had a plan, because you see, his sister was watching. Miriam saw that the heart of the princess reflected on her face. Miriam said to her, "Shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" Man, she knew. She's taking the bait, hook, line, sinker. The princess said, "Go." I can see her little arms and legs flying as she's running down the dusty pathway. Moses' mom sitting on the footsteps of the house, just praying in agony that she's given up this beautiful little baby, and she sees this dusty cloud coming and running and screaming towards her, and she has this anticipation in her heart, hoping that her daughter voices the good news. And then she takes her to Pharaoh's daughter, and all of a sudden the slave has a life-changing experience where this slave with no hope is now being paid the Pharaoh's gold to care for the future Pharaoh. Wow. You want to talk about God moving. Now flip back with me. I want you to see something. Because you see, Moses' mom demonstrated three incredible characteristics of God's love. This same love that this mother had for this little baby is the same love Paul encourages us to add to our faith. That if we don't possess it, we're useless. So this isn't for just moms. This is for all of us. Look down, if you would, to verse 4, 1 Corinthians 13. Love endures long and is patient and kind. Love is never envious, nor boils over in jealousy. It is not boastful or does not display itself haughtily. It is not conceited and arrogant and inflated with pride. It does not rule unmannerly, and it does not act uncomfortably. You see, love, God's love in us, does not insist on its own rights or its own way, for it is not self-seeking. It is not touchy or fretty or resentful. It takes no account of the evil done to it. It pays no attention to the suffering of wrong. It does not rejoice at injustice and unrighteousness, but rejoices in right and truth as it prevails. You see, love bears up under anything and everything that comes. It is ready to believe the best of every person. It hopes are faithless under the circumstances. It endures everything without weakening. You see, love never fails. It never fades out or becomes obsolete or comes to an end.